And good morning. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. I'm Michael D. Day. We're broadcast on WTQT 106.1 LPFM, and we are fully underwritten by the Greater Baton Rouge Building and Trades and the Louisiana AFL-CIO. This morning we're going to have a couple of guests coming on, and one of them in just a few minutes. Let's see who we got. We got Mr. Petite, Brother Petite from the United Steelworkers Union, who are currently on strike. You don't hear much about strikes anymore. I don't think we'll find out more, but I think it's safety-related issues that they're on strike for. And later on we'll have, in the same hour, we'll have Christopher Huddleston from the Cats Union. And he'll be talking about their, I guess it's more of informational picket lines. I think they have the same issues, safety issues with the bus, with the Cats buses, and anyway, before we go on, I want to give a little shout out to anyway. I'm pretty sure I got a couple of buddies out there listening today. I want to give them a shout out. Daryl, who's lost a lot of weight. My friend Daryl delivers ice cream to the local Baton Rouge area. And, I mean, the man has lost a ton of weight. And I don't see how he does it. He's delivering ice cream, for Christ's sakes. There's no way I could not pilfer the Cherry Garcia. No, I'm just kidding. But he's delivering ice cream. He lost a lot of weight, and he said he was going to listen this morning. So I'm saying hello to Daryl. Daryl, drive safe. Stay on the road. Don't text while you drive. Don't drink while you drive, and all that other stuff. And another buddy of mine's probably listening this morning, Les. Les is probably headed out to his camp, and he's been wanting to listen, and one day we'll probably have him on the radio. So anyway, we're waiting, like I said, in a few minutes, we're going to have a call. We're going to have a call in from, what's that gentleman's name again? Let's see. Our first caller is going to be Brother Petite from the U.S. Steelworkers Union, and we're going to see what that's about, what's going on with that. Like I said, you don't hear much about strikes anymore. We'll check it out, see what's going on with it. And anyway, if anyone wants to call me now, before we take our regular caller, you can call me at 225-343-1075. And we'll talk about what you want to talk about. Any labor issues, minimum wage, whatever you want to talk about. Don't have a problem. It's a nice, brisk day. And I tell you what, let's go to a quick number here, and we'll come back and we'll catch the U.S. Steelworkers. Okay, good morning. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. I'm Michael D. Day, and we are broadcast live, WTQT 106.1 LPFM. We're going to have a caller from the United Steelworkers Union here shortly, Brother Petit, and we're also going to have a representative from the CATS Union, the local capital area transit. Both, well, the United Steelworkers are on strike, and it's affecting a few people, I know, and the CATS workers have, I guess, more of an informational picket line. We'll find out more later. And before we get started, I want to say a little hello to my friend Daryl. He drives an ice cream truck, and he's lost a lot of weight. I don't know how he done it. I'd be pilfering the Cherry Garcia or something if I was driving one of them things. But Daryl drives safe. And my longtime friend Les, he's probably headed out to his camp. I don't know, fishing, smoking way too expensive cigars or something. But Les, drive careful if you're headed out to one of your camps. Like I said, this morning we're waiting on a calls to come in from Brother Petit. We'll do that this morning, and then we'll go straight to the CATS Union. You don't see very many labor actions in the Baton Rouge area anymore. Been involved in quite a few. It's no fun. Nobody wants to go on strike. I mean, you're losing money. You never get that money back. It's not a good situation. Everybody suffers. Sometimes there's just no other way to do it. You know, the members of a union make a decision, and they don't feel like that someone's bargaining fair or someone's not being fair, and you've tried everything that you can try, and it just don't work out. And so you got to take some action, and the action being is withholding your labor. There's not much other you can do. And we're getting a call right now. And anyways, like I said, there's sometimes that there's just no other way to go, that you just don't feel like the company's being fair to you. And the only thing left, the only alternative is to withhold your labor. And good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mike.
Is this Brother Petit?
Sure is, sir. How are you this morning?
Could you introduce us to yourself and the WTQT Baton Rouge Labor Radio audience this morning?
I sure will, Mike. My name is Brent Petit. I am the United Steelworker staff representative that represents 5 major oil facilities in the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area, 3 of which are currently on a 24-hour rolling notice of strike notification. The other 2 are off date, as we say. Their expirations are not at this time. But
so you're currently not on strike, right, Brent?
What's that, Mike?
You're currently, the steel workers are not currently on strike.
No, in Louisiana they're not currently on strike. We had 9 locations across the country on strike, and we just had 2 other locations go out last night. One in Toledo and one in, I think, somewhere else in Ohio. I'm not sure offhand. I can get that information.
Okay, well, that's we're Baton Rouge Labor Radio, and I do have a friend listening that is affected by what's going on right now. He does some sort of business with the local refineries, And it is. Go ahead and explain why you had to take this action, Brother Petit.
I sure will. What's happening, and make no mistake, this is in no way around the wages. I want to say 6 to 9 years ago, we had a negotiations that introduced what we call fatigue management. After the BP Texas City explosion in about 10, 12 years ago in Texas City, which killed 7 individuals, the American Petroleum Institute implemented or had a study, which the industry was part of, that the recommendations from that study was that this explosion, one of the contributing factors was fatigue, and that the oil workers were just working too many hours. People were working too many hours. We had a shortage of workforce, shortage in the workforce, and this study was to analyze the workforce and recommended hiring. Well, the companies, which, like I said, they were part of this study, took this study and implemented one piece of it, which said that we will restrict employees when they got to a certain standard of work. In other words, they can work so many days in a row, then they must have a day off, and they implemented only that piece of this entire recommendation. And then what they've been doing, not all, but some, have been using that. If you work that many days in a row and it offsets and it allowed them not to pay overtime, they would knock you off. If it created overtime, part of this standard says you could write an exception. So they would allow you to work if it benefited them. So that's what's been going on. 3 years ago, we tried to negotiate changes in it. They said they'd talk to us. In most of the facilities, they did. They talked one time, and that was the extent of it. Here we are 6 years later. The fatigue standard hadn't changed. We're still working. Our guys are working 1,000 hours a year, which is an average of 60 hours a week. And it's just gotten to the point we've got to do something. We're just really scared that there's going to be some consequences, in some of these facilities, and we have to do something to bring this industry to task and start hiring some people and start reducing some of this overtime issues. That's the main issue we're dealing with here.
60 hours a week, that's 6/10 for 6 years you're talking, right?
That's correct. And most of our guys work 12 hours, 12-hour shift in operations. And what they say is if you work 7 days in a row, 94 hours, you have to have a day off.
Oh.
And then this is what's the kicker. You have to work 4 hours in a day for it to be considered a full day. So some of these refineries are saying, okay, I'll work you 5 days in a row, and then I'll bring you in for 3 or 4 hours to do some training. That doesn't count, so you got a day off. Well, if you get up and come to work, guess what? Seems to me that's a work day. But
well, it is to me, So are the companies, are they taking notice to your action?
I think so. Prior to the first 9 facilities going on strike, they weren't even discussing our our fatigue issue, and another major issue is we're trying to do for the maintenance folks, start apprenticeship programs or some kind of reduction in the contractors, and since we've had to go out on strike in 9 facilities, we've got them to start addressing some of these issues and start discussing that. So I believe it has made an impact, but that's been over a week ago. The first facilities, the first 9 went out last Saturday night at midnight. So we've gotten some movement, or at least they've at least addressed it before they would even, didn't seem like they were even looking at it. So that's kind of where we're at now. They've taken a weekend off, kind of a cooling off period. They're going back to the table on Monday.
Brother Petit, go into, I'm a member of the Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 198 in Baton Rouge, and we've got a 5-year training apprentice program. But go into the extensive training that the plant operators who you're representing go through to take these jobs, to get these jobs?
Well, the problem we're seeing, and I'm not in no way trying to take work away from you guys, from the craft unions. We both have a place in this facility. But what's happening is guys that work for your union that decide they want to go to work for the chemical plants or the refineries, the refineries. They're working next to our guys doing the same work, and then we finally talk them into, for instance, hiring 10 people, 10 pipe fitters. Well, they go take the test. Now, they're working doing the same thing we're doing. They take the test. The industry says, well, they're not qualified, and then the next day they're right back in the facility doing the same thing. You know, the sad part is, and I hate to say this, you know, you guys make a little less money than us and have a little less benefits.
A lot less.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but, you know, and you're good enough to work for them for $25 an hour, but not the $30 an hour that some of our guys get. So, you know, it's a shame, but they're exploiting you guys at the expense of not hiring into the facilities.
Well, you know, Brother Petit, this all fell in. And, I mean, I've been around for a while and kind of long in the tooth. But this really started after Right to Work.
I agree.
Right to Work, I mean, there were some of these chemical and refineries where me as a contract union worker were making more than someone comparable that was showing me what they needed done, you know, back in the 70s. But like I said, a lot of this, and you've got people coming in that are, I'm not going to say all non-union are not trained. That would be wrong. But I will say a lot more of the non-union workers are not trained compared to the union side. And you're probably having the same problem. I mean, like I said, I don't know how they test them or anything like that. But like I said, I know that the operators, I've got a few friends that are operators, and they went through some rigorous training to get their position.
That's correct. And the problem on the operator side, and that's what when we talk about fatigue, is you know, maintenance is working a lot of overtime, but a lot of times they supplement maintenance with a contractor. And like you said, I'm sorry to say, it used to be we had in most of our facilities a union contract workforce. That's no longer the case. We're getting guys from all over the country come in here, these little fly-by-night firms that come in, and they have no ownership in a plant. You know, a guy that lives in Baton Rouge that works at ExxonMobil, you know, a contractor, good union employee, he wants to stay there. He wants to do a good job. A guy that comes from Mississippi, works a shutdown for 30 days, or let me not put down Mississippi, or anywhere else, comes in, works a shutdown, non-union. He knows he's not coming back, so guess what? He's not really that concerned. It's not his community.
There's no investment in the neighborhood, in the area, but like you said, you know, this guy, hey, I'm here for 30 days and I'm out, and you know, as long as I get that final check, I'm okay. You know, when I was in refineries like Exxon in the 70s, the guys I was working with lived right in the North Baton Rouge area.
That's correct.
And we were doing everything we could to do a decent job and protect the health and the safety of us and the whole area. You know, you don't want something bad. We seen something bad happen in Exxon before, and it wasn't pretty, you know. So we do have a family investment in the local refineries and chemical plants.
That's right, Mike. And then the problem on the operations side, when I first hired in here, I hate to say this, I've got a little age on me, in 79.
You're a youngster.
I hear you. But, you know, if you work 12% overtime in a year, the companies would start hiring, you know, and we had relief operators on all the shifts, and, you know, you weren't swapping vacation. Now, basically, you're swapping vacation. There's no more relief operators, so a guy that's got over 20 years in a plant and got 4 weeks vacation, all he does is work for his relief. his relief takes vacation, he works overtime. And vice versa. We don't have the staffing levels that they did, and then now what happens is they pull people off. As short as we are, they're not allowing them to hire salary people. So anytime there's a little special project per se, or the foreman want to take vacation, a lot of our facilities have workups, which is fine. If a guy wants to, that's the natural progression to a salary job, and we're glad they're bringing our people up. The problem is they're shorting us so much that it's causing our guys to work 1,000 hours a year, 60 hours plus.
So,
it's just and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. That's the sad part, and that's what these negotiations are about. If they would have some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, if they would commit to us that they would do something, they will not even say they would do anything but, we'll discuss it. Well, we heard that crap before, and they discuss it, but discussion doesn't mean they're going to do anything.
So as you see it, it's the companies, the corporations, or as we call them at our the client. They're not wanting to make the investment in training more operators and people to run their facilities.
That's correct. They're not willing to make, and the sad part is there was such a heavy crunch in the 80s. And look, if you look at the facilities that I represent 18 facilities in this area, everything from grain to petrochemical to refineries. The average age is 45, 50, 55 years old. So, our guys are leaving, and there's nothing behind them.
They're setting
these. Going to be a bad push coming up.
These corporations are setting themselves up for disaster.
I hate to say that, but it's a good possibility.
Well, you're at 55 years old, what are you looking at? How many more years? And you got so long, and like I said, the training. I had a friend that went to work at one of the chemical plants in Geismar, and the training was brutal. They took 150 applications for the job, and I think they called it down to about 5 people, and then I think they hired 2 out of those 5, and then it was a brutal training. So, at some point, it seems the companies would have to start training somebody. With people at that median age, right?
That's it. We see, one of the proposals, and I represent the Norco complex. There's 3 different plants in Norco, and I also represent the Motiva Convent refinery. We actually did local negotiations and finished our local issues. And one of the things companies, and this goes for the chemical, the paper, everybody, they're extending these probationary periods because of the training that's required, not only in the plant, but there's so many government standards, government-required trainings, and they can't get a guy out of a classroom for 6 weeks to even get him out in the plant and start letting them trace lines and learn how the plant works. I tell people every day now, don't go to, everybody wants their kids to go to college. If you go to the Votech and get a degree in that industrial technology they have at the Votech, it's a 2 years, you're going to come out starting at $60,000 a year. So go be a bank teller, you'll make 35.
Right. Right. Well, is there anything, we're going to have to catch another caller here, Brent, but is there anything you got to say to our listening audience on WTQ2 106.1 FM before we close? Is there anything we can do?
This opportunity. And what I want to tell people, listen, this is for the community. We're doing this. We want these companies to hire you, your sons, your daughters, your grandsons, your granddaughters. This is about the health and safety of the community and to make these people, look, they're making money. The Bryce Oil is what it is, but they're making money. And they have an obligation to these communities to make sure they hire our people and they make these facilities as safe as they can. And they can't do that when they have a workforce that's working this many hours and not invested in the community. So my thing is, look, help us to help you. And like I said, again, I appreciate it. And we need all. We're in this one more day. That's our slogan. We're here one more day.
Well, thanks, Brent Petit with the U.S. Steel Workers. Brent, we might have you back if this thing goes extended.
I'm sure I'll be glad to give you some more info. And again, thanks again. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for calling. That's Brent Petit with the U.S. Steel Workers. We're going to go to a song, and we'll be right back. We're back. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. I'm Michael D. Day, and we're on WTQT 106.1 FM, and we're glad to have, I thought Christopher Huddleston was calling in, but he's in the studio, and he's with the Capital Area Transit bus driver and steward, I guess. Executive assistant. And test that mic, Chris. No. Okay. We got to get these mics right. Try it again, Chris.
Testing.
We're good. So anyway, it's introduce yourself, Chris, and tell us what you do.
I am Christopher Huddleston. I am the executive assistant to the president as well as the vice president of ATU 1546, which is the Union for Capital Area Transit System, the bus operators and mechanics. And so right now we're protesting because of the safety issues at Capital Area Transit System, along with the abuse of management and their authority. So we're protesting right now because of how they are mistreating operators, how they are actually doing things that are inconsistent and inconsiderate. And so we're actually bringing it to the people. We have tried time after time to speak with management. Management will not hear us. And so we decided to take it to the street to inform the taxpayers how management is doing things that are not benefiting the public.
Give us one specific instance of that, Chris.
Well, they decided to put buses in areas that does not benefit the clientele. There's a mass call for a bus in one particular area, and they decided not to put a bus in that area. They decided to put another bus in another area.
What area are we talking? Name
well,
the area.
Well, there's a bus that needs to be put in the Scotlandville area. They decided not to put a bus in the Scotlandville area. They decided to put the bus somewhere else. There's a mass.
Where'd they put the bus?
Well, they decided to put the bus down at the LaBerge Casino, which is also out of the taxing district.
Rolling bones,
Yes,
baby.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now, the bus at LaBerge, is it working? I mean, do people ride it?
Well, I have
Why
not.
can't they put a bus at LaBerge and Scotlandville?
Well, that's a question management would have to answer. Why they cannot put a bus at both places? I'm not sure. However, there are things, the safety issues of the buses.
Bring up some of those.
The safety issues are horrible. One day I was driving 143, and as I was driving 143, the bus actually the wheel on the bus was actually shaking. And so I'm actually praying and asking, please don't allow anything
Get
to
me
happen.
through this, Jesus.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, don't allow anything to happen to me
I
as
got
well.
kids at home, man.
Don't allow anything to happen to me nor the passengers. And so you got to deal with things as such as that. And then, the other thing.
The wheel was actually shaking.
Yes,
on it.
sir.
Now, was that one of those, we've heard about those reconditioned buses that they bought because all the tax money or something wasn't in and they couldn't afford new buses. Was that one of those buses?
No, sir. This was actually a Bluebird. A Bluebird is one of the
little small bus.
Yeah, well, a little short.
Yeah.
It's not short. It's actually one of the buses that came from Florida.
Oh, so that is one of the buses they bought.
No, sir. The buses that actually came that was reconditioned are from Virginia.
How are those?
Well, they still have some issues. Those
Right.
buses,
They're reconditioned.
those buses does not even have a kneel for our passengers. When we actually stop at a stop, we're supposed to kneel the bus. You can't even kneel the bus for this
Kneel
one.
the bus. Describe that.
Kneel the bus actually means to let the bus down. So our elderly passengers will not have to step up. They can actually get on the bus safely.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
We're talking with Christopher Huddleston with the CATS Bus Union, and we're on WTQT 106.1 LPFM. I'm Michael D. Day, and this is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. And Christopher, so, I mean, I'm hearing people that I know ride the bus say that it's better than it was, in all fairness.
Okay.
I know several people that ride the bus daily.
Okay.
And they do daily. Yeah, it's better, but sometimes it's still late, and they're having a lot of breakdowns. And, it might take an hour and a half to get another bus to where that bus broke down. And people that are dependent, I guess you could go into that. But my thing is, in my time living on the East Coast and working on the East Coast, that, I saw all people of all walks of life taking the train and the buses and stuff like that. And that's what I was thinking that should be the goal down here, to make the bus available for those that don't necessarily need the bus. You shouldn't. The bus shouldn't be a dependent form of transportation. If the bus system was made where the average guy that's got a car pickup truck in his garage says, you know what, I'm taking the bus this week, I'm going to save a few dollars on gas, then it's made better for everybody.
Well, before you do that, Mike, you better make certain that the bus is safe and it doesn't
Right.
break down.
Well, I understand that. But what I'm saying, that should be seen, that seems like that would be a goal, to make it where just the average guy that's not dependent on the bus system would want to take the bus.
Well,
And that would be business good for all the way around.
Well, when you have inexperienced people trying to manage a transportation company, then it does not
Who are
work.
those inexperienced people?
Well, we all know who they are. Well, okay. Well, one in particular, we have we know that the CEO did not have any experience.
There's a corporate guy, right?
Yes. And now with transportation, he has no experience in transportation.
Right.
Secondly, he has hired the COO, rather the DOO, who has no experience, which is the director of operations. She has no experience. And so when you have inexperienced people trying to run a transportation company, then it becomes something that is not beneficial. It becomes inbeneficial.
Well, let me ask you, does your union contract address any of these issues?
Well, with our union contract, that's something that they're not trying to follow anyway. They're trying to do what they want to do with the union contract, and I'll go into details concerning that one. There are people, there are employees, hard-working employees who are being suspended when they're not supposed to be suspended. The taxpayers' money is being used because what happens is they actually suspend these people, and they find out that these people should not have been suspended.
Through the grievance procedure.
Yes, sir. And in the process of that, they actually have to repay these people all of it. That's right.
They want a grievance.
That's right. And so they're not abiding by the contract. And so that's what happens when you have inexperienced people.
Now, Christopher, we're talking with Christopher Huddleston's with the CATS, that's the Capital Area Transit Union. And what I'm saying is, as far as if they say they suspend the driver,
Yes, sir.
and the driver says, hey, I didn't do that, well, we're going to suspend you anyway. Okay, so the driver goes through the grievance procedure,
Yes, sir.
and he wins or she wins, and they pay him.
That's right.
They fulfill the contract, right?
Well, before they even
they went by the contract.
No, sir,
right?
because according to the contract, they're supposed to investigate. And before they even investigate, they have suspended the person before the investigation. And so what happens is that person comes into work thinking that they're going to work, and then they discover that they can't work because they have been suspended, and then they have to go through the process.
Does Capital Area Transit bus system have a human relations department?
We do, but that person is trying to get her feet wet, as it has been told to us, trying to get their feet wet. But then when you
what's that mean?
They're trying to come in the door and actually learn the process. They're trying to learn the process, but when you have done it for so long, you should know the process.
Well, how long has the company had a human relations department?
Oh, wow, that's that.
So they just hired a new person.
They just hired a new person.
Oh, okay. We're talking to Christopher Huddleston with the CATS union. They have a labor action going on now. I guess it's more of an informational, letting the public know what's going on. So, Christopher, what are some more of the issues that the drivers and the maintenance people are having over there?
Well, the mechanics are actually using used parts to put on the buses. They are not buying new parts. They're allowing the mechanics to take the old parts, the used parts, off of buses and place them on buses that are currently running.
So it takes two buses to get one bus.
Look like. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
Man, that's what I did when I was going to Struma High. I had two of these old cars, though. So you're saying what they're doing. Now, in some cases, that might be the more economical way to go if you've got. Now, this has just popped into my mind, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
But, I'm thinking these old buses are like 90s.
97.
97s. And you're talking about buying new buses, right?
Correct.
The company's talking about buying new buses. So I'm thinking if I can get a part off of this old bus that's not running and patch this sucker up until we can get a flow of new buses coming, I might be saving some money on that.
Well, the question that I would ask is, why would you try to save money when you actually have the money that the taxpayers voted for?
Well, I'm saying that it might not be. Well,
And-
I guess
and-
I didn't make my point clear.
And the reason I say that is because if I have a tax, a designated tax that has been passed, I should be buying the new parts to make certain that it does not malfunction.
I understand your point, and on the other side, I could see where it may not be feasible to buy a very expensive part for an old bus when I got new buses coming. Are there new buses coming?
Well,
Address that.
That we keep hearing that there are new buses coming, but we don't see any paperwork showing that the new buses are coming.
Okay, Christopher.
And if you were going to buy new buses, why would you go buy used buses from Virginia?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. But Christopher, tell us which bus line you drive, and go into some of the problems you may be having on your bus line.
Well, I drive 23, which is Foster, and I drive 72, which is the Florida Limited bus. As I said earlier, I was on 143 one day, and 143 as I was going into the Cartana Mall circle. As I was going in that circle, the bus wheel started to shake. and I was praying, Lord, help, and help me and my customers. The 23 line, you may get buses that break down, so, and that's because the mechanics has used all of the parts that they can, including the new and the used. And you may get.
I'm sorry for laughing, Christopher, but if you don't laugh, you'll cry, man.
Wow. Well, and then you have customers. There are times that customers have to ride the bus in the cold because the heat does not work. There are times that the customers have to ride with the windows open because the air condition doesn't work. Even their mechanics, because of the supervisory staff, they tell the mechanics to tell the drivers that when there is a light that comes on the dash, they tell all the drivers to actually turn the bus off, let it stay off for about 60 seconds, and then restart the bus after 60 seconds.
Does that work?
Oh, no, sir. That doesn't work. But that's how they have instructed.
Man, I didn't realize that, things were in this condition.
Oh,
I
yes,
really
sir.
did.
Yes, sir.
If you have a question for Chris, you want to take a call if we get one?
Oh, sure. I'll take
Yeah, Christopher Huddleston with the CATS union with the bus drivers, 225-343-1075. Give us a call for the next few minutes. We're here, 225-343-1075. You're listening to Baton Rouge Labor Radio. We're talking with Christopher Huddleston with the CATS bus union here locally, and he is expounding on the problems that the drivers, mechanics, and customers are having, and they've got an informational picket line. That's just downtown at the main bus station, Christopher?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And how are you guys doing this? You guys are doing this like on your day off?
Yes, sir. What happens is we are not stopping service. Let me stress that we are not stopping the service. What happens is when the driver has a split in their route, when they get off, they can come out to the picket line, hold up a sign, and when it's time for them to go back to work, they actually go back to work. The persons, if they're off, as you said, they can actually come out on their off days and actually hold up the sign.
Now, Christopher, there are some people saying that this is coinciding with a contract renewal. Does that have anything to do with it?
No, sir. No, sir. We are not doing this because of a renewal of the contract.
But you do have a contract coming up, right?
We do have a contract coming up, but this has nothing to do with the contract renewal. This has everything to do with how the buses are unsafe. The management team, the administration is abusing their authority. And so the union members, along with non-union members, has said enough is enough. And we need to let the people know that enough is enough.
Right. So I'm just, how long have you been with CATS, Chris?
I've been there 3 years.
3 years.
Yes, sir.
So were you there during the tax renewal?
I came just when the tax renewal.
Because I was wondering, some of the drivers that have been there an extended amount of time, have they seen any better results than before the tax election?
Well, some of the drivers that has been there has expressed how there is really not a change. And so they are expressing that. They have expressed it to the leadership of the union, and the union has relayed that to management. In the process of all of that, there are things that really, and I'll give this to the company, there are things that has changed on certain lines and with driving, but there's certain things that has not changed that needs to be improved.
Okay, Christopher, in the morning, if you could, and the company had 40 new buses sitting there, would that solve a lot of problems?
Would it solve a lot of problems? It probably would solve some of the problems when it comes to the breakdowns, the mechanical issues. It probably would solve the problems. That means that the driver can actually take another bus to actually help relieve the stress off of the customer.
Is there anything that the public can do to help in this effort to get the bus system safe and sound and running efficiently?
Well, as customers, we can, or as the public, we can actually help by probably writing letters to our respective representatives, our council people, trying to push the issue to make it better. That's something that possibly could happen.
Are you getting any help from the city council or the mayor?
Well,
These issues?
I cannot answer that because I don't know. We have not. The union has not heard anything from the mayor, but we have heard things from. We have heard from City Councilwoman C. Denise Marcel. She has came out on the picket line and helped us picket. Also, former council member Byron Sharper, who is now the vice president of the NAACP, he has come out these last 2 days to help us picket. And there are others, such as Mr. Mike McCallahan, who has supported us. And so we're getting some support from a few, but not many.
Right. We're talking with Christopher Huddleston with the CATS, Capital Area Transit Bus Union. Anybody want to call in? We're getting down to the end of the show, but if you want to call in, you got a quick question, 225-343-1075. You're listening to Baton Rouge Labor Radio. So in closing, we've got about a minute. If you had to pick one issue that, let's see what we got here. Good morning, caller. You got a question for Christopher Huddleston?
Yeah, I'm just listening to his conversation there, and then talking about new buses and things like that. Okay, well, what about the drivers that are tearing the buses up? What about the inexperienced drivers? You know what I'm saying? All the stuff about used parts and things like that. What are the used parts that are being put on the buses? See, he got to think about it like that also, too.
Okay.
You're putting it out there to the public like we patching buses up, or CATS patching buses up. We as the public are patching buses up. That's crazy, and that's absurd. Now, the customers get on the buses. They bring roaches on the buses. They eat cheeseburgers on the buses. The driver eats on the buses. So now you got a roach infestation problem. But it's more than just certain things that he's saying. It's 100% all the way around. People got to check themselves and do the right thing to make capital area transit system work properly.
Well, I understand. I understand.
Look, we don't have much time. I appreciate you calling, though, but we're going to let Christopher address your question. Okay, sir?
It wasn't really a question. It was a comment and exhort what's going on.
Well, we got about 30 seconds, so I appreciate your call.
Let me just hit on it.
Quick,
when the driver does not have a break because they are actually constantly running that route, 10 hours, they have no break, then how is that driver supposed to actually relieve themselves or take care of themselves because of sickness or whatever?
That's a good question. We're going to have to leave for another time. Maybe we can get you in here next week with Neil Paul Miller and Julie Cherry. Christopher Huddleston, I'm sure all the bus drivers, union or non-union, will agree with this. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. You can catch us on our Facebook page at Baton Rouge Labor Radio. Leave your questions or comments. And we have a saying in Baton Rouge Labor Radio, Christopher, if you work for free, you'll always have a job. Live better, work union. Have a good weekend.